Hello, my favorite first graders. I hope you're doing well today. Let's talk about some phonics. This week in phonics, we're going to do some review of some things that we've talked about in the past. We're going to talk about some special sounds, and then we're going to learn about some different parts of speech that we need to use to expand our writing, to expand our sentences, to get us ready for second grade, to write like second graders. But first, let's review something that we learned earlier in the year when we talked about syllables. Now, a syllable, remember, it's just how many parts are in the word. And remember, in the past, we've clapped them, we've tapped them with our fingers, we've tapped them on the table. And remember, words are broken into different parts. And this week on your phonics page, you just have a short little review of listening for how many syllables, how many parts are in a word, as well as how do we divide them. So let's look at my board here. I have some words, and some of them are divided, and you can see that I have one side that's short vowel sounds, and then on the other side we have long vowel sounds. Now let's look at this first word, giggle. If we clapped that word or tapped our table, giggle, we would know that this has two parts, two syllables. Now look at the word underneath it. Bubble, saddle, apple. All of those words have two parts. All of those words have a short vowel sound. Now, if I were to divide them, and in our phonics pages, you're going to draw a little bitty dot. If it's a short vowel sound, you're going to divide it right between those double consonants. Did you notice that? Look at giggle, bubble, saddle, apple. All of those words have two consonants together. Remember Uncle Short? Remember how he jumps in sometimes and he adds that double consonant? So if you were to divide this, if you were to draw that little dot on your phonics paper, you would divide it right between those double consonants. Remember, this is only for the short vowel sound. Do you hear the short vowels? Giggle, I hear the I sound. Bubble, saddle, apple, all of those words have the short vowel sounds. They would belong to Mr. and Miss Short. Now let's look at the other side. The other side is long vowel sounds. Let's look at these words. Table, if I were to tap that out or clap it out, table. That word has two syllables. Bible, two syllables. Cycle, two syllables. And if you notice, I hear the long vowel sounds. I hear the A sound and the I sound. Now, if I were to divide this, if I were to draw a little dot to divide it into syllables, to divide it into parts, with the long vowel sound, guess what? I don't see that double consonant. So if you were to divide this, if you were to draw a little dot to show me where do we divide this word, it would come right after the long vowel. Look at table, whoops, table, right after the A. Bible, we would divide it right here after the long I sound. Cycle, we would divide it after that Y, because remember, a Y is a sometimes vowel. So when you're practicing that this week, remember, we can clap to help us decide how many syllables there are. And some words only have one syllable, like cup. Cup, one syllable. Dog. Dog, one syllable. Some words have many syllables. They can have 3 or 4 syllables. So remember, a syllable is just how we break it into parts. So you're going to see that this week on your phonics paper. Now, let's talk about some of our special sounds. This week you have a few of them. Some of them you probably already know. And remember, we're just reviewing these skills. Remember, phonics helps us read, but it also helps us spell. It also helps us become better writers. So one of your first ones is this sound, D, G, E. Remember, these are special sounds, kind of like bossy R. They work together. D, G, E. Now, these three letters make one sound, the J sound, like the letter J, J. The D is completely silent. The E, we do not say the E sound. We just say J. Let's look at some of these words. Badge, judge, wedge, edge, pledge, I pledge allegiance, lodge, fudge, smudge. All of these word family words have that D, G, E. And remember, the D is completely silent. We don't say dig, we don't say that. We just say J. So look for this week on your phonics papers. Here comes another special sound. T, C, H. Now all three of these letters make one sound. It just makes the ch sound. The T is completely silent. We do not say that sound at all. We just say ch, like in the words catch, patch, hatch, match, itch, ditch, pitch, stitch. The T is completely silent. We only say the ch sound. We don't try to sound it out like ch, k, ha. We don't do that. This is a special sound. All three of these letters make one sound, the ch sound. Now here's another one. This one's kind of tricky because it's used a different way in different words. But for this week, look at this special sound. A-U-G-H. Now in this particular special sound, this just says aw. The G and the H are completely silent. What I tell my brain to look at is that A and that U. And we talked about that last week and the week before, how when A and U are together, it makes the aw sound. So the G and the H are completely silent. Let's look at these word family words. We have caught, taught, naughty. Are you naughty or nice? Naughty. Look at this word. This is a big word. Daughter. Now some of my friends would look at this and try to sound it out. They would try to say, ha. No, this is a special sound. All four of those letters just make one special sound, and it makes the aw sound. So look for these this week on your phonics papers. A-U-G-H, it makes the aw sound. Remember the G and the H completely silent. We only need to look at the A and that U, and that'll remind our brain that that makes the aw sound. Now, something else that you're going to see this week on your phonics pages are special parts of speech. Now, so far, we've talked about nouns. Remember, a noun is a person, a place, a thing, an animal, an idea. You have learned about verbs. A verb is an action word like run or jump or scream. We even talked about linking verbs like am and is, are, was, were. Those are those like boring verbs. They're not very action-packed. We've even talked about pronouns like the word I, or me, she, he, him. Those are pronouns. Today we're going to talk about two fun parts of speech, and they're going to help us expand our writing because we're getting ready for second grade. And we don't want to write those baby sentences anymore. We want to write big kid sentences. And so using adjectives and adverbs in our writing, they're going to help our sentences sound better and look like big kid writing, right? Because that's what we want to write. We don't want to write like babies anymore. So let's talk about an adverb. Now, adverbs are fun. Do you see right there? Do you see the word verb in adverb? Well, this is kind of cool. An adverb describes a verb. It explains the verb. Now remember, a verb is an action like run or jump or eat or scream. Now an adverb usually tells us something about the verb. It tells us How? How did they do their action? Where did they do their action? Where did they scream? When? When did they scream? When did they jump? So adverbs usually answer those questions. Let's look at some examples. Let's look at these sentences on the back. She sang beautifully. Beautifully is an adverb. Beautifully tells me how she sang. How did she sing? She sang beautifully. Bob ran quickly. Quickly is an adverb. Quickly describes the word ran. How did he run? He ran quickly. It tells me how he did it. Sally wrote her name neatly. Well, Sally is the noun in our sentence. She's the subject. Our verb is wrote. How did she do it? She did it neatly. Neatly is an adverb describing how she wrote her name. Now look carefully at those words. Beautifully, quickly, neatly. What do you notice? I notice that there's an ly at the end of those words. Did you know that's a clue? Every single time that'll tell you, that word's an adverb. There are all kinds of adverbs, and adverbs are a great way to expand your sentences. She sang beautifully. Bob ran quickly. She wrote her name neatly. All of those adverbs tell me how our subject, how our noun did their action. Now let's move on to another part of speech that you're going to practice this week. Adjectives. Now I like adjectives too. Adjectives describe nouns. Now remember, a noun, what's a noun? A noun is a person, a place, a thing, a pet, even an idea. Now adjectives describe nouns. They tell us about it. They tell us more. They give us more information. And they usually answer the questions like, what kind? How many? Which one? How much? So let's look at some examples on the back. I stepped in sticky gum. Ugh, I hate it when that happens. Well, let's look at this sentence. Stepped is the verb. What did I step in? I stepped in gum. Ugh, that's awful. But what kind of gum is it? It's sticky. Sticky gum. Sticky is an adjective describing the gum. What kind of gum was it? Which gum did you step in? Ugh, it was that sticky gum. Let's look at the next sentence. I ate salty popcorn. Oh, I love popcorn. It's probably one of my favorite snacks. I is the subject. That's who it's about. What did they do? They ate. Ate is the action verb. Well, what did they eat? They ate popcorn. Now, do you see a word that tells me what kind of popcorn? It's that word salty. What kind of popcorn? Salty. Salty is an adjective describing that word, popcorn. Now, did you notice something about the word sticky and salty? They end in the letter Y, the consonant Y. So sometimes adjectives can end in Y. For example, ooh, the chilly weather, the windy day, ooh, the smelly garbage. Those words end in Y too, and those can be adjectives. But then we have adjectives that they don't have to end in Y. Let's look at the rest of my examples. I swam in cold water. I is the subject of the sentence. That's who it's about. What is the action I did? I swam. What did I swim in? Water. What kind of water? Ooh, it's the cold water. Cold is an adjective describing that water. It tells me what kind. Let's look at the next one. The loud horn scared me. Ooh, sometimes that happens when I'm driving. If I hear the ambulance or the police or the fire truck, whew, I'm startled because I hear a loud horn. So, What's our sentence about? It's about the horn. What kind of horn was it? Loud. Loud is an adjective describing the word horn. It tells me which one or what kind of horn. It was very loud. So this week, I want to challenge you. In your journal, I want you to practice writing sentences using some adjectives and adverbs. Remember, we want to expand our writing. We don't want to write those baby sentences anymore. I want to encourage you to try to use some adjectives and adverbs. I want you to work really hard in phonics this week. We have a fun chapter in science to read about. You're also going to take your math tests this week over 3-digit numbers. I want you to get outside and play and have fun. And please know I miss you so much, and I hope to talk to you on Friday. Okay, have a good day.